Hello everyone, Ron here from RJJ's Reactions and back with another request. And this is Jefferson Airplane with Grace Slick, and the song is White Rabbit. I always want to say White Wabbit from the old Bugs Bunny show, but White Rabbit. And I don't know whether this was requested because they recalled it from the old days, so to speak, or whether it's because it was used recently in 1899, which was streamed on Netflix, maybe elsewhere too. I'm not sure, but I did watch it. Very interesting show, and they used the song there. I think they used part of the original, but they used somebody else singing it too. So I am familiar with White Rabbit. I heard it, as I say, just recently again, but I did hear it back in the day as well. Before we get right into the song, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It doesn't hurt very much at all. I so far haven't had any incidents of people having to visit the hospital from hitting the subscribe button. No pain at all to you and great benefit to the channel. So it really helps out. So take a minute to hit that. Once you watch the video, you can hit like if you like the video. You can't tell yet because you haven't seen it. You can hit that thumbs up. I hope you do like it, and also the notification bell helps because sometimes videos get blocked because of copyrights and things, and I have to dispute them. They usually get through in about 3 or 4 days, but that messes up the algorithm, so you might not see them in your feed if you're looking for certain videos. I have had recently a few messages from people who said, I didn't even know you did this one. And that maybe is what happened. I'm not sure. At any rate, let's get going with White Rabbit, and we will look at the lyrics afterwards because Grace Slick wrote the lyrics. Sometimes I'm terrible at promoting myself. I forgot to mention the super chats too. So you can always use the super chats, and I've only had one so far, and that video was done immediately. So let's go with Jefferson Airplane, White Rabbit. Okay, there we go. White Rabbit. The Smothers Brothers was a TV show. I didn't realize this was here. I didn't read down below or anything. 1967. I was thinking early 70s, just with the psychedelic look, but of course that fits with the drug message here that's coming up as well. But it's actually 1967, so a little bit earlier than what I thought.
One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. And if you go chasing rabbits, and you know you're going to fall, tell 'em a hookah smoking caterpillar has given you a call. Call Alice when she was just small. When the men on the chessboard get up and tell you where to go, and you just had some kind of mushroom, and your mind is moving, oh, go ask Alice, I think you'll know.
This will be the only other time I stop until we get to the end because it's not a very long song here. You can feel the build up. There's this constant build up, and Grace's voice is so powerful, and we'll hear more of that when we get closer to the end. But you can already start to feel and hear that coming. We're going to talk about the lyrics later, but you can already recognize probably a lot of the allusions to Alice in Wonderland, the story that I'm not wholly familiar with, but of course I've heard of it. Let me back that up a little bit. The video is not very clear anyway, but it's because it's from 1967. No YouTube back then. So, yeah, excellent. I love Grace Slick's voice. And I've always loved this song. I don't think I understood it probably when I first heard it. I didn't really know that it was about drugs likely, and even if I did, I wouldn't have fully understood it back 67, 70, whenever I heard it. But very interesting song for the time period, but even for today, it stands up, I think, and the lyrics stand up as well. So we're going to have a look at the lyrics in just a moment. I should mention that I already did a little bit the sort of psychedelic look that brings back memories as well. I won't mention some of the clothes I had back in the day, but very bright and colorful compared to what I wear now, which is almost all black. But yeah, it was different times, and it was a different Ron, kind of, but the same young person is still buried in here somewhere, so it affects everything. All right, let's go have a look at the lyrics. White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane, songwriter Grace Slick, and she was a singer, of course. I shouldn't say of course, there's a lot of young people, maybe didn't know. One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small, and the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. So, yeah, talking about drug culture here. And I think when the song first came out, it slipped through the cracks for a little while. And then people started to pick up on what it was really talking about. And I think it got banned in a lot of places, as many songs did back in the day. But yeah, so different drugs make you feel differently. Some of them make you feel taller, stronger, more capable, more confident. Others make you feel smaller and you kind of want to hide in your shell, etc. I don't have a huge experience personally with drugs. I'm not really into drugs. I don't even like drugs from doctors and over the counter stuff. But I have a little, and I certainly do watching people, and I've seen them messed up. So I'm not a big fan of them really. Although some obviously save your life, so those ones are okay. Those ones are good. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. So on drugs. And if you go chasing rabbits and you know you're going to fall, tell them a hookah smoking caterpillar has given you the call. Call Alice when she was just small, so the opposite effect of the drugs. And yeah, and you know you're going to fall. Now that could be before you take if you're anxious or going into depression or whatever, and you're taking a drug to feel better, or it could be falling off the drug, coming down from a high. Could be referencing that as well. And chasing rabbits is an allusion to Alice in Wonderland, I think. And the hookah smoking caterpillar as well. That's one of the characters. When the men on the chessboard get up and tell you where to go, again, talking about that story, and you've just had some kind of mushroom and your mind is moving low, go ask Alice, I think she'll know. So we got magic mushrooms going on here. I've never partaken of magic mushrooms, but I've heard of them. Um, yeah, when logic and proportion have fallen sloppy dead. So obviously, when you're high, or even when you're drunk, which some people say is a kind of high, um, yeah, logic goes out the window, or at least there's a very different kind of logic. You think you're thinking logically, but you're really not. And proportion, everything is wacky, a little bit wacky, right? And it can go many different directions, like they say, really large, really small, somewhere in between. But it's just all off. It's just all unusual. But when you're in it, it sort of feels. It feels right. It feels like it all works. Uh, I don't have a lot of experience with drugs. I have a fair bit with alcohol in the past, and I know that that is a different world. I would enter into a different world altogether, and everything seemed to make sense within that. Although I was still aware that this was my alternative world. This wasn't the world. This was my sober world. This was an alternative world. And the White Knight is talking backwards, and the Red Queen's off with her head. The Red Queen always wanted to chop off people's heads. Remember what the Dormouse said? Which I don't remember. Feed your head, feed your head. I'm not sure what the feed your head means, but I would be guessing it could mean several things. But um, the drugs, maybe feeding your head, giving it what it needs to feel better. I don't know. But then again, it's a bit of a stretch, but it could be just learn more about it, get educated, get knowledge about it. But at the time, I think drugs were quite popular, and looking for an alternative world was very popular. 60s and 70s, when youth culture was uh, really coming into play, and the Vietnam War and other events were, and youth culture, young people were definitely not wanting to be like their parents. Most of them ended up pretty similar to their parents in the end, but there was a real push to separate yourself and have a new world, and we were going to have a brand new world. And that I think is every generation to some extent, but it really exploded because of just everything, I think, converged and came together at that time, particularly mid late 60s 70s, um, and created this sort of counterculture, or there were actually a number of countercultures. It wasn't one. Not everybody agreed, whether you were older or younger or somewhere in the middle. I think there was a lot going on at the time, and yeah, and of course the baby boom and all of that converged together to create this effect, and then drugs were part of that, because people were experimenting and experiencing new thoughts and ideas, and then they'd take the drugs, and that would just expand it sometimes. Sometimes crush it and come down on top of you and create a real problem, obviously. But all right, I'm not going to go on and on and on, although you're probably saying he already did, you old man. But there you have it. It's me rambling. White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane, Grace Lake. I really love this song, and like I said, I was watching that 1899 series, Netflix series, and heard the song, but it was somebody else singing it at first. But I think they did have the original in there too, if I remember correctly. And thought, wow, I haven't heard that for a long time, so that was great. And then just recently it popped up on my one of the viewers asked for this. So yeah, I don't know whether it's because they were reminded of it or whether it was the first time they heard it on that show. I'm not quite sure. But thank you for the request. It was a good one. I certainly don't mind going back and reviewing some of these. Now that I'm decades away from it, but yeah, really interesting. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the like if you like the video, the notification bell. Super chats are available if you want to bump up your request. And I think there's some kind of thank you thing there too. I don't know. I don't keep up with all of this tech stuff, but all right. It's Ron from RJJ's Reactions. Keep listening, keep having fun. Bye bye for now.